Now let's try to make some changes in the app.js file to bring some output in the browser. In order to do so, let me arrange the browser and VS Code side by side. So this is the code of the app.js file that comes up automatically at the time of creating the application. So it has a function called app, in which we are trying to return a div tag which contains some content. So let me remove this particular div tag and save the changes and return something here. For example, a div with hello. The moment once we make the changes and save the file, automatically the page refresh in the browser. So as you can see, it shows hello as the default output. You can use the Ctrl+ button in order to increase the zoom. As of now, the zoom is 140. We can use Ctrl+ to increase the zoom, and we can use Ctrl- to decrease the zoom. So whatever the HTML tag that you written in this particular function will be printed as it is in the browser. This is the default code setup. I recommend some preferences. Go to File menu, Preferences, Settings, and go to Text Editor, and then Formatting, and check the checkbox Format on Save. So because of this checkbox, as soon as you save the file, automatically the code will be formatted. That means the code will be properly maintained with proper indentation. And optionally, I recommend an extension called Prettier. So go to Extensions, that means the fifth icon on the top left corner. Then search for Prettier and install this code formatter called Prettier. And then after that, come back to the app.js file. Press Alt-Shift-F in order to format the file, or press Ctrl+S to save the file. In this case, as soon as you save the file, automatically the file will be formatted. For example, if you give unnecessary spaces here and not maintain proper indentation like this, and upon saving the changes, the code will be automatically formatted. And also you make sure you add default formatter in the preferences. To do so, go to File menu, Preferences, and then again Settings. Go to Open Settings JSON, and then at last, make sure you set up the Prettier as the default formatter for both JavaScript and also for JSX files. Okay, let's close these preferences. Now let's try to build the same application from the scratch without using any predefined files. So let me select all the files of the src folder and delete them. Now the src folder is empty, but all the files of the public folder exist as it is. And mainly, we have the index.html file, and the React compiler expects a file called index.js in the src folder. So let us create the index.js file in the src folder. So right click on src folder, new file. File name is index.js. So this is the index.js file in the src folder. In this, we are trying to create an element, and I wish to render the same into the React DOM. In order to create an element, we are writing var element is equal to some HTML tag, for example, div hello world. So, as we have set the default formatter in VS Code, as soon as you make the changes, automatically the file will be formatted. So you need not format the code manually every time. Now you can see an error called React must be in scope when using JSX, which means that this particular tag will be converted into React.createElement by using a JavaScript compiler called Babel. So Babel is a JavaScript compiler that converts the JSX syntax into regular JavaScript. To demonstrate Babel, go to babeljs.io and click on Try It Out. So once you click on Try It Out, we are just writing some HTML tag, for example, p-hi. The same will be automatically converted as react.createElement, and the name of the tag here is p, and the argument for the attributes is null. That means it has no arguments, and the content of the element is hi. Like this, whenever you write HTML code as XML syntax, automatically Babel will convert the same into react.createElement. This is also called as React element. This particular React element will be a part of the virtual DOM of the React. In the previous lecture, we have understood the virtual DOM. It is the hierarchical structure of the elements that you render on the page. You can notice that in the actual code that you write on the left-hand side, we don't have anything related to React, but once the Babel compiles the same into JavaScript, it has something called as react.createElement. It means that this object called React must be declared or must be imported. In this case, we should import this object from a predefined module called React. And that is the reason, even though we are not using React directly, we must import React from React module. So just above the actual statement, you try writing import React from React module. So we are importing an object called React from a predefined module called React. That means it is importing the object from the module that is present inside the node_modules folder. Okay, we need not worry about the node_modules. These are already installed by npm. Now save the file. Now that errors were clear in the browser console, now this is the time for rendering the same into the React DOM. In order to render the React element into the React DOM, we require something called as import React DOM from the module called React-DOM. Always the right-hand side one is the module name and the left-hand side one is the default import of the particular module. So we are importing an object called React DOM from the module called React-DOM, and make sure you write the correct casing, that is R must be uppercase and DOM DOM should be the uppercase again. So based on the same React DOM object, we are trying to render the element by using a predefined method called render. So for this render method, you need to pass the element that you want to render, that is the variable name element here. That means it represents div hello world. And after that, you need to specify the position or placeholder where this particular element must be rendered. So come back to the Explorer window, go to the index.html file. In this index.html file, we have a div tag in the body tag with id equal to root. This is the placeholder where you can render the element. Remember, it has an ID called root, and based on this ID, we need to select the element in the actual JS file. in order to select the element based on the ID, we have a predefined method called getElementById in the plain JavaScript itself. Alternatively, you can also try using document.querySelector, but in that case we have to write hash before writing the ID. So, document.getElementById of root will select the element that is present inside the index.html file, and inside this particular div, we are rendering a div tag called div_hello_world. And let me save it. Automatically the page refreshes. You can see the output as hello world. That means this particular element called hello world will be rendered inside the root element that is present inside the index.html file. If you can notice, if you want to exactly investigate where it is rendered exactly, you can use the browser developer tools. To do so, right-click on Hello World, Inspect Element or Inspect in Chrome. It opens the developer tools. There you can see the div ID equal to root, which was already present in the index.html file. But dynamically the React element was rendered inside the root element. So as a result of this particular div tag only, you are seeing the output called hello world here. And now let's render the element in the console.log. In JavaScript, the output statement is console.log. So it shows the value of this particular variable inside the browser console here. So have a look at the console. So that particular div tag is represented as a React element. And if you can expand the same, so this is your actual React element, and it has a property called type and its value is a div. That means this particular div tag is represented as a React element. That is why the type equal to div. And also it has other properties such as props and children equal to hello world as the text. So this particular text is being displayed inside the actual element. And this React element is the part of virtual DOM, which I have explained in the previous lecture. So overall, a big application is the composition of various components, and each component is represented as a React element, which will be rendered on the DOM. Whenever the state of the React DOM has been changed, automatically a new React element will be created in memory, and then React automatically compares the new object and the old object of React elements. It identifies the changes between the new React element and the older React element, and then go to the actual browser DOM and update the actual browser DOM with only the specific changes that you really make. For example, if you update the inner HTML of the particular h1 tag, only that specific h1 tag will be updated rather than re-rendering the complete page. This makes React execute faster. But this example is pretty simple. But in the real world applications, we will not write actual content just like this element. We will need to create the components as the classes inside the JSX files. We will learn to create the components in JSX files in the next lecture.